In this video, we'll pay tribute to sizzling female villains who've graced our screens from the 1950s to today. This is not just another list, this is an homage to the rule breakers and heart takers who have made cinema history. Facts Verse presents Sexiest Female Movie Villains to grace the screen. Ava Gardner as Kitty Collins in The Killers. In the world of film noir, few have commanded the screen quite like Ava Gardner in The Killers. Released in 1946 and based on a short story by Ernest Hemingway, this movie turned Gardner into a Hollywood sensation. As Kitty, she is the embodiment of allure and danger, dressed to kill in gowns that were as show-stopping as her performance. Gardner's Kitty is not just eye candy, she's a manipulative mastermind, using her beauty to get what she wants. Her sex appeal is her weapon, and she wields it with absolute precision. Gardner went on to have a legendary career, starring in classics like Mogambo and On the Beach, but it was her role as Kitty Collins that set the tone for sexy female villains in cinema. Faye Dunaway in Bonnie and Clyde. It's impossible to talk about sexy and infamous female villains without mentioning Faye Dunaway's portrayal of Bonnie Parker in the 1967 classic Bonnie and Clyde. Alongside Warren Beatty's Clyde, Dunaway's Bonnie turned the life of crime into an alluring escapade. She was fiery, fearless, and fashion-forward. Her beret and skirts just as iconic as the Tommy guns she wielded. What made her character even sexier was her complete disregard for societal norms. She was a woman in charge of her own destiny. Dunaway showed her versatility in other roles, most notably as the icy network exec Diana Christensen in Network, but her sensual and daring Bonnie remains a landmark. Glenn Close, Fatal Attraction. Close, who later went on to play Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians, proved that a sexy villain can be both complicated and captivating. Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. Sharon Stone's role as Kathryn Tramell in Basic Instinct is too iconic to ignore. Released in 1992, this erotic thriller quickly became infamous for its explicit content and intense performances. Stone's Kathryn is not just a pretty face, she's a brilliant novelist and a suspected killer, wrapping everyone around her finger as she evades capture. Her unforgettable interrogation scene alone, with her confident demeanor and, of course, the famous leg-crossing moment, stamped her into the Hall of Fame of sexy villains. She went on to impress audiences in movies like Casino, but it was her role in Basic Instinct that immortalized her as a big-screen siren. Salma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn. Salma Hayek, unforgettable villainess. Famke Janssen in GoldenEye. In the 1995 James Bond classic GoldenEye, Famke Janssen portrayed Xenia Onatopp, a villainess whose lethal weapon was her sexual prowess. With a penchant for crushing her victims between her thighs, Xenia was as deadly as she was alluring. Her presence added a layer of erotic tension to the film that made her interactions with Bond unforgettable. This role set the tone for many of Famke Janssen's later characters, but none could top the magnetic allure of Xenia Onatopp. Rebecca Romijn and Jennifer Lawrence in the X-Men films. Rebecca Romijn and later Jennifer Lawrence brought the shape-shifting Mystique to life in the X-Men series starting in 2000. With her blue scales and yellow eyes, Mystique was both fascinating and deeply seductive. What made her particularly alluring was her ability to become anyone she desired, making her the ultimate femme fatale. In each scene, she commanded attention, using her beauty and abilities as weapons just as effectively as her combat skills. Rosamund Pike in Die Another Day. Rosamund Pike's Miranda Frost in the 2002 James Bond movie Die Another Day was the epitome of icy beauty. An Olympic gold medalist turned MI6 agent gone rogue, her intelligence matched her attractiveness. Miranda was not only cunning, but also masterful in combat, combining elegance with ruthlessness. While her loyalty may have been questionable, her allure was undeniable. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Cruel Intentions. Sarah Michelle Gellar broke away from her good girl image to portray Kathryn Merteuil in Cruel Intentions. As a manipulative socialite who uses her sexuality as a tool for personal gain, Kathryn was as sexy as she was cunning. The scheming villainess made manipulation look like an art form, all while draped in designer clothes and a seductive smile. Aaliyah as Queen Akasha in Queen of the Damned. Aaliyah's portrayal of Queen Akasha in Queen of the Damned was nothing short of mesmerizing. As the mother of all vampires, Akasha was regal, ancient, and stunningly beautiful. Her desire for destruction was matched only by her intoxicating presence. Though the film was released posthumously after Aaliyah's tragic passing, her performance as Queen Akasha remains a hauntingly captivating testament to her talent. Brigitte Nielsen in Rocky IV. Brigitte Nielsen's towering presence as Ludmila Drago in 1985's Rocky IV was unforgettable. The wife of the menacing Russian boxer Ivan Drago, Ludmila was not just a supportive spouse, but also a steely counterpart. With her icy blonde hair and statuesque physique, Nielsen epitomized Cold War allure. A master of psychological warfare, she used her beauty and wit to add an extra layer of tension to the already high-stakes rivalry. She might not have been a traditional villain, but her role was undeniably antagonistic and irresistibly alluring. Kathleen Turner in Body Heat. In the sultry thriller Body Heat, released in 1981, Kathleen Turner gave a breakout performance as the cunning and irresistible Maddie Walker. Set in a sweltering Florida town, the film tells the story of a lawyer who becomes ensnared in Maddie's web of manipulation and lust. With her smoky voice and voluptuous beauty, Turner turned the heat up in every scene she was in, making her one of the most unforgettable femme fatales in cinematic history. Now it's time to hear from you. Who else should be on this list? Let us know in the comments section below.